Hello everyone, this is Yoko. In this channel, I will provide information in English that I have collected on incidents occurring in China, which are not being reported in other countries. I obtain information from multiple sources, so I would appreciate your comments on the content of the video. If you like the content, please subscribe to the channel and show your support. First, I will explain the news about Bridgestone's trusted factory being completely shut down. However, there have been further discussions recently on specific topics about Chinese tires and transport by trucks. First, regarding Bridgestone's factory, the factory that is now closing has a 25-year history, and it is quite large. More than 5,000 tires can be produced here per day. Also, the tires produced here are for commercial vehicles. The closure of this factory is significant for Chinese truck transport and the tire market. This was confirmed in January. Production has stopped, and the factory will be closed on February 28, and all employees will be laid off. By the way, another factory has been closed in the past, but it was in a different state and happened in 2021. That factory was in Shanghai, and it was different from the factory in Xinjiang that is closing this time. When a different factory was closed, some functions were moved to the Xinjiang factory. Since then, production in China has been reduced for Bridgestone. The main reason Bridgestone decided to reduce production in China and close the Xinjiang factory is that the attractiveness of doing business in China has decreased. There are several reasons for this, but before I go into detail, it is important to note that tire demand worldwide has not decreased. After closing a light factory in 2021, Bridgestone announced an increase in the production of commercial tires in the United States in 2022. In other words, while production is shrinking in China, it is expanding in other regions. This means that business in China is not going well. Now let's move on to the situation in China. First, there is the issue of overcapacity. There are domestic tire manufacturers in China, and competition is fierce within China. The second problem is the decrease in tire demand in China itself. Despite the decrease in demand, there is overcapacity. Therefore, the market is considered to be collapsing. As a result, China is becoming less attractive as a destination for business. In addition to these problems, there are political risks in doing business in China. In other words, China is increasingly becoming like North Korea. Therefore, doing business in China is dangerous. Business risks there are very high, and it is no longer attractive for companies. Next, let's talk about competition among Chinese tire manufacturers. In the case of truck tires, Bridgestone tires are typically around 2,000 yuan per tire, even if they are as cheap as possible, typically around 3,000 yuan. On the other hand, Chinese-made tires are around 1,000 yuan. Bridgestone tires are preferred because they are of high quality. This is a well-known fact in the industry. Bridgestone tires can be resold a year later, but other tires cannot. They are sold to recycling tire companies and turn into remanufactured tires. They do not perform as well as new tires, but they are considered superior to Chinese-made tires. Therefore, if you buy Bridgestone tires for 2,000 yuan, you can sell them for a few hundred yuan a year later. Using Bridgestone tires costs about twice as much as using Chinese-made tires, but the quality is high and it is worth it considering the cost of accidents. In summary, business in China is increasingly not profitable, and since the quality of Chinese-made tires is not the same as Bridgestone tires, Bridgestone has decided to reduce production in China and close the factory in Xinjiang. In present-day China, there is no such luxury to say such things. It's a dangerous situation. Even if you can't afford Bridgestone tires, a major accident could occur. If you can buy domestically made tires for about half the price, you have no choice but to buy them. So why has this situation arisen? The scale of truck transport in China peaked in 2016 and has been steadily declining. For Japanese people, it's surprising that 2016 was the peak, but that's the case. The Japanese economy was still doing well in 2016, and the decrease in Chinese truck transport started after that. However, if you look at the scale of truck transport from 2016, it has been steadily declining. In 2019, it decreased by 10 billion tons compared to 2016. There were over 42 billion tons in 2016, but it decreased to about 36 billion tons in 2019. It may not be easy to understand that there was a decrease of 10 billion tons. I couldn't understand it at all. So I looked up the scale of transport in Japan. I found out that the total transport volume in Japan is less than 5 billion tons per year. Therefore, a decrease of 10 billion tons is more than twice the total transport volume of all transport companies in Japan. The decrease started before the coronavirus. In other words, from the perspective of truck transport, the Chinese economy peaked in 2016 and has been declining since then. In other words, the problem with the Chinese economy did not start with the coronavirus, but it had been worsening before that. However, at that time, it was said in Japan that the Chinese economy had surpassed the United States. It's amazing how things change. In reality, the scale of truck transport in China is rapidly decreasing. As the amount of freight is declining, the number of transport companies is naturally decreasing. This phenomenon is not unique to the tire industry but is occurring across various industries. A few years ago, there was huge demand for everything in China. However, now, the demand across all sectors is decreasing compared to before. Chinese people are facing difficulties in their lives and are being more careful about how they spend their money. Since money is not circulating in various industries, the number of transport companies is also naturally decreasing. As a result, transport companies are getting involved in fierce price competition and survival competition. This is happening not just in the tire industry but across various industries. So, currently, the Chinese government is considering measures to support the stock market and the real estate industry. However, at this point, I think it is almost impossible for the government to rebuild the Chinese economy. Ultimately, there are few people in China who have money. The demand that those people can meet is not that great. Even if you have assets of 100 million yen, you won't eat thousands of meat buns every day. The consumption of one person is limited, and the rich people have already bought everything they want. Therefore, even if these rich people become richer, it is not a plus for the Chinese economy. However, money is accumulating more among the rich in China. If you give money to these people, it will immediately go towards consumption. Money is not flowing to the people who use it, and it is a structure where nothing works well. Therefore, I think the commercial tire industry is in a tough situation. This is a typical example, but I think the same thing is happening in all industries in China. Because people are rarely aware of this industry, I want to share this information with everyone. If similar events are happening in other industries, I would like to actively introduce them in the future. This is the end of my story this time. Let's meet again next time.